By the power of light and the strength of my soul, I call upon my guardians to make me whole. Ancestors, guides, and spirits of grace surround me now in this sacred space. By the highest truth and the purest light, cast away shadows, restore what's right. Shield my home, my heart, my mind, let no harm of any kind pass through this space nor near me stay. Darkness, darkness, let's plug you in. Darkness and fear must fade away. With love as my armor and strength as my shield, no ill intent shall break or yield. I stand in light, I stand in power, safe and free in this very hour. So it is, and so shall be. I am protected, and I am free. Hello, my sweets. Is my guardian angel free to hear? Yes. Is my ancestor Sue here? Yes. Is my spirit guide Grandpa Fred here? Yes. And is Archangel Michael here? Yes. Okay, big hug. That's probably the better way to do it. Let me introduce you, and then you can hug me, and I can hug you back. I know this is like the third, fourth time I've been on here today. But my goal for this, or my intention for this reading, is to learn a little bit about Miss Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta. Now, this is entertainment purposes only, but I would like to ask some questions that will help understand who she is, what she's after, and who she is trying to look after, her province, her people, or herself. Big hug. Thank you, guys. I love you too. So let's dig into the questions I have about Miss Danielle Smith. Does Premier Smith prioritize the interests of Alberta's oil and gas workers over her political ambitions? Is her advocacy for the pipeline expansion primarily aimed at securing long-term benefits for Alberta's economy? Does she think about Canada's economy? No. Does Premier Smith believe that the pipeline expansion can be achieved without significant environmental harm? No. Is she committed to implementing measures that mitigate the environmental impact of Alberta's energy sector? No. Does Premier Smith support the oil and gas industry? Oh, let me replace that. Does Premier Smith's support for the oil and gas industry align with the broader interests of Canadian citizens? No. Is her opposition to the U.S. tariffs driven by a genuine concern for Alberta's economic well-being? No. Does Premier Smith consider the development of renewable energy sources as a priority for Alberta's future? Let me try that one again because I think I messed it up. Does Premier Smith consider the development of renewable energy sources a priority for Alberta's future? Does she believe in climate change? Does she believe that the earth is failing? No. Is she open to collaborating with environmental groups to address concerns related to pipeline projects? Yes. Does Premier Smith's leadership reflect a balanced approach between economic growth and environmental stewardship? No. Is her focus on the oil and gas sector potentially hindering Alberta's transition to a more diversified economy? Let me try that one again. Is her focus on the oil and gas sector potentially hindering Alberta's transition to a more diversified economy? So Alberta will be forever known only for oil and gas. And when that runs out, Alberta's economy will crash. Is Danielle Smith looking at today only or the future? No. Is she focused on the future of Alberta? No. Is she focused on the now of Alberta? Yes. Is Premier Smith's advocacy for the pipeline expansion primarily aimed at benefiting Alberta's economy rather than a personal political gain? Does Premier Smith's support for the oil and gas industry reflect a commitment to Alberta's economic interests over the environmental concerns? Yes. Has Premier Smith implemented policies that prioritize the well-being of oil and gas workers and their families? Yes. Is Premier Smith's opposition to federal environmental regulations driven by a desire to protect Alberta's autonomy? Yes. Does Premier Smith's leadership indicate a preference for Alberta's sovereignty over collaboration with the federal government? No. Is Premier Smith's approach to energy policy aligned with the interests of the Alberta's oil and gas industry? No. Has Premier Smith taken steps to address environmental concerns associated with pipeline expansion? No. Is Premier Smith's focus on resource development indicative of a broader ambition for political influence? Yes. Does Premier Smith's stance on coal policy suggest a prioritization of economic growth over environmental sustainability? Yes. Is Premier Smith's engagement with international leaders primarily aimed at advancing Alberta's energy interests? No. Is Premier Smith's engagement with international leaders primarily aimed at advancing her own political career? Using the numbers on the right-hand side, 1 through 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, in terms of most important, least important to most important. Is Danielle Smith focused on Alberta? Point to the number that most represent the accurate level of desire. So 1 is the least important and 10 is the most important. Need a bigger swing. Bigger swing. Get over that green. Ah. Sorry. Chain fell. Okay. Is it least important or most important or somewhere in between? Need big swings. Big swings. Come on, you can do it. That's it. A little bit more. Okay, so you'd rate her as a 7 out of 10. Okay. Is she more or less caring about the environment on a scale of 1 to 10? Does she care very much about the environment or very little? Big swings. Big swings. So I'm seeing very little. A 2. Okay, 1 being 100% Albertan and a 10 being 100% Canadian. Where does Danielle Smith land? Four. So she cares more about Alberta than she does about Canada. Okay. Is her political career less important than the province of Alberta or most important? Wow, rated a 10, most important. So she cares more about her career than she does about Alberta. 1 through 10, is she using Alberta to advance her own political aspirations? Ten. Yes or no question. Does she have aspirations to becoming Prime Minister? Yes. She wants to become the first woman Prime Minister of Canada. I think that says a whole lot about Miss Danielle Smith. For entertainment purposes only. Is Danielle Smith a selfish person? Yes. Is Danielle Smith an empathetic? Does Danielle Smith have empathy for other people? Wow. No. So as long as her oil and gas is pumping, she doesn't care who's pumping it or how many die. Nope. she doesn't care how many families fall apart. As long as that oil and gas is pumping and money is coming in. And her province looks like it's making money. Is she pocketing any of that money? Is she an honest financial person in Alberta? Well, that's good. Will she ever become part of Canada? No. Should she be voted out? Looks like yes to me. Would you say that Pierre Poilievre and Danielle Smith are made of the same cloth? Yes. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna close this off.